So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is Ghazal 844 from Divan-e-Shams. What if for a moment you set your thoughts aside? So again, this is about absorption, as Maulana was saying in Fihi Ma Fihi Istiqraq. When you're drowned in Allah, you set everything else aside. You don't think about other things. Andishe Allah, thinking about this and that. It's because you're not absorbed. When you're absorbed, you don't think about those things. So I'll just maybe read the first 2-3 verses just for the barakah of it, and then we'll move on to the translation and discuss the meanings. گر ساعتی ببری ز اندیشه ها چه باشد؟ غوطی خوری چو ماهی در بحر ما چه باشد؟ ز اندیشه ها نخسپی ز اصحاب کهف باشی، نوری شوی مقدس از جان و جا چه باشد؟ آخر تو برگ کاهی، ما کهربای دولت، زین کاهدان بپری تا کهربا چه باشد. I always find it difficult to stop when I start reading Maulana's poems, but in the interest of time. And thanks to Maqdad John for translating the poem. Okay, maybe Fatima, would you mind reading?
Okay, inshallah.
Thank you.
What if for a moment you set your thoughts aside? What if you plunged like a fish into our ocean? If thoughts don't let you sleep, become like the companions of the cave. What if you became a sacred light beyond selfhood and space? You are but a wisp of straw, and we are the amber of prosperity. What if you flew from the haystack towards the amber? 100 times you swore, this time I shall be dust. What if just once you kept your promise? You're but a hidden gem, veiled in earth and mud. What if you wash the mud from your face, O beautiful one? You're the heir of that king. Jibril fell prostrate before you. What if you reclaimed your father's kingdom, O destitute one? O you who count the friends of God as separate from God, what if you held them in high esteem? You are a part, lost from the whole. You're like an arm severed from the body. What if from this moment on you no longer separated yourself from us? What if you humbled yourself, devoid of arrogance and greed, then lifted your head to the court of the Almighty? Drink the wine of remembrance to free yourself of all thoughts. What if you did not turn your back in battle, O Murtaza? Enough. You're like a mountain. Seek mines of gold within it. What if you did not use the mountain merely to echo your own voice?
Thank you, Fatima Jan, thank you.
Thank you.
So, گر ساعتی ببری ز اندیشه ها چه باشد? Even if it's just for a moment, leave all your thoughts aside and plunge, again, istiqraq, being drowned. The fish is drowned. For Maulana, the fish symbolizes the lover of Allah. The fish do not think about anything else other than water. So what if you became a fish and plunge in our ocean? Why not? Maulana is saying, why not? Why don't you try this? What would happen if you do this? Give it a try. Thoughts don't let you sleep. So this is all these anxieties, thinking about this and that. You can't sleep. Try to become one of the companions of the cave. And the companions of the cave, Maulana talked about them in the Masnavi. در قیام و در تقلبهم رقود. You think they're doing this and that, but no, it's Allah who's doing things for them. It's Allah who's turning them to the right and to the left. They're unconscious. When we're awake, we're carrying things. We're doing this, we're doing that. But when we're asleep, we're carried. And these awliya, these people who are lovers of Allah, they're carried. It's Allah who's doing their job for them. So why if you become like them, like the companions of the cave, beyond your selfhood, your individual self, beyond being attached to this particular place and that particular place? You're just like a straw. Again, that attraction between the straw and the amber. Jadbe, or the kashish, the attraction. What if you experience that attraction and you fly? You fly from yourself, from the haystack of this world, from the chaff, towards the amber of the divine. What if that happens? Again, Maulana says, give it a try. What if you do this? And you keep promising, you keep saying, this time I will be humble. This time I will be dust. You keep going back to sinning, going back to your pride. And then you say, this time I will be humble. Next time I will do better. Just for once, keep your promise. What if that happens? And when you're dust, when you're humble, you realize your true self. You realize that you're a hidden gem. And that pride, that arrogance is earth and mud covering your inner beauty. Once you remove that, once you remove everything else, you wash your face. Why don't you wash your face? Then you realize how beautiful you are. The reason you don't recognize your own beauty, the beauty of your own soul, it's because it's covered. Go and wash your face. Then you realize who you truly are. You're a descendant of a king. You're a sultan. You're a prince. You've forgotten who you are. You're the one that Jibreel fell prostrate before you, bowed down to you or to your father. So you're that. Why don't you go and seek that kingdom, your father's kingdom? Why don't you realize that you're a prince? You're not meant for this world. You're not meant for this lower world. You're a descendant of that king. And then Maulana says, Ey awliyai haq ra az haq juda shumarde. People who think the friends of God are separate from God. And that's why, in the Masnavi, Maulana was saying, Ni qalat guftam ki na'ib ba manub. Yes, the awliya represent Allah. But if you think that they're separate, that's not correct. They're not separate. Loving the awliya is loving Allah. Because, some people have this misconception that we need to love, the Prophet this much and then Allah more. And that's true. But the problem with that is you think that loving the Prophet is separate from loving God. Loving the Prophet is loving God. Because why do we love the Prophet? Why do we love the awliya? We love them for God. So there is no comparison. There is no separateness. Loving the Prophet is loving God. And you can't love God without loving his prophets. You can't love the Prophet without loving God simultaneously. You can't love the awliya without loving the Prophet. It's all one love. So don't think that they're separate. It's just like the rays of the sun. They're not separate from the sun. Every ray is a messenger of the sun. So if you honor the sun, you should honor its rays. You should open the window and receive all its rays, because the rays are not separate from the sun. It's the same warmth, same light. So hold them in high esteem. And because of that, you're just like a part lost from the whole, like an arm severed from the body. But don't be separate. There's in Persian they say judabini and khudabini. Judabini is when you see everything as separate. Khudabini is the opposite. You see everything as connected, because everything is from Allah. So you're no longer separated from the whole body, from the body. You're no longer separated from the whole. That's the connectedness that comes from being connected to Allah. You're also connected to everything else. And you're so absorbed in Allah that you don't recognize, you don't realize anything else. But that's the connectedness. What if you're not separated anymore from us? Whatever.
I've just got to say, what a very beautiful ghazal. This is what a really, really beautiful ghazal.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, when you humble yourself, devoid of arrogance and greed, kibr hirs. Maulana talked about both of them in the Naynameh of the Masnavi. These are the two. One is pride and one is greed. When you cleanse yourself of these two, then you realize the kibriya of Allah, the divine majesty radiates in you. So that's the kibriya of Allah. And this reminds me of a story in Tadhkirat al-Awliya of Attar. So someone goes to Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq and says, you have all these virtues, but you're proud. And then Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, he says, no, this is not pride. It's because I've cleansed myself of human pride, of arrogance. This is the kibriya of Allah that's shone on me. And you perceive that as pride, but it's not pride. It's that awe. So because everyone who saw him, they were in awe of him. That doesn't come from my pride. It comes from the kibriya of Allah. It comes from the majesty of the Almighty. So when you do that, when you humble yourself, then that kibriya shines in you. As zikr nush sharbat. So drink the wine of remembrance. When you remember Allah, you say Allah, Allah, Allah. You free yourself simultaneously from everything else, from all thoughts of masawallah, anything other than Allah. And that's a battle. That's a battle with the nafs, with the thoughts. So be like Murtada, be like one of the titles of Sayyidina Ali is Karrar, the one who charges in battle, goes forward, doesn't go backward. So be like that. Don't turn your back in battle. Go forward. And be Murtada also means content. You're content. You don't flee. You don't flee from trials. You don't flee from hardship. You go forward. So don't turn your back in battle. Go forward. Remember Allah. Free yourself from everything else. And as Maulana usually does, the last couplet is about silence. Be silent. Be silent because you're like a mountain. And a mountain within you is gold. Within you is a treasure, a hidden treasure. So you don't need echoes. You don't need sounds. You don't need to talk. Even if you're silent, you have gold within you. So don't use the mountain just to echo your voice. Go and find the treasures in the mountain. Even if the mountain is silent, it still has those mines of gold within it. Go and seek those mines of gold. Yes, Ahmed.
I see one observation here, and this was that I think Mevlana is talking about food of the nafs, and then he's talking also about the food of the ruh. So he's talking about the zikr, he's talking about the kibr, he's talking about hirs, and he's talking about the dust, the body. I think he is like talking about all these manifestations that we have within us. And I think he's, what if he's saying that whatever you feed is the manifestation that you show. So feed the highest one of them.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know, they say the grass is greener where you water it. If you water the greed, you'll have more greed. If you water the weeds, you'll have more weeds. If you water the flowers, you'll have more flowers. Anisha.
Yeah, I think that this also touches upon the concept of muhasabah and muraqabah, right? Sina John, taking yourself into account and also essentially working on ourselves, right, all the time.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's a cycle. So arrogance and greed happens when you don't realize how great Allah is. When you remember Allah, you remember how great Allah is. There is no room for arrogance, and you don't want anything else. So there is no room for greed. And that's why Maulana says, when you drink that wine, when you drink that sharbat, that sweet drink of remembrance, then all thoughts go away. All other thoughts go away when you're truly in dhikr, in remembrance. But Abra.
One of the things with Mevlana's poetry, and this one, it really comes through strongly, is I'm assuming this comes from the Farsi. Is it, what if you did this? Well, what if you did that? Not do this, you,
Totally.
you very naughty person. Do you know what I mean? There's a very different kind of energy, a real rahmah, for want of a better word, something like that, and that's really heart opening.
Yeah.
Whereas some others might, if you're not absorbed in Allah and you try to say these things, more often than not, you close hearts rather than open. So it's a mark of Maulana's rank.
Absolutely. This is, you know, what something that Maulana does again and again. He says, like in the Masnavi, he says, you know, you've slept so many nights. Give it a try. Chand shabha khab ra budi asir. You were a prisoner to sleep so many nights. Yek imtihan kon. Give it a try. Give it a try. So one night, stay awake. Give it a try. Fast for a few days. So here Maulana is saying, what would happen? Give it a try. See what happens. Give it a try. Remember Allah. See the results. Yep, brother.
So that's why I find myself in trying to spend time with Mevlana's poetry and the Masnavi and Fihi Ma Fihi and Zikr and so on and so forth. Maulana is like the kindest grandfather. I can't even say it properly, but there's just such a tender, caring love.
Totally. And there's also meeting everyone where they're at. So the way you talk to, you know, as Maulana was talking to Parwana, who is a politician, right? The way you talk to him is not going to be the same as you talk to a Sufi who's, you know, meeting people where they're at. So there are people who need, you know, maybe a more direct approach. There are people who need stories. There are different tones needed for different people. we're at different stages and they have different spiritual needs. So if you have the same tone, it's not going to work for everyone. Yes, Asif.
Yeah, salam, bismillah. I think today's session was devoted to devotion only, devotion of love, devotion of God, devotion of prayers, devotion to life, devotion to respect, devotion for all. This is, I think, the most essence of this discussion or this session today. I absolutely loved it and comprehensively admire this session.
Alhamdulillah.